This is big. Chris Ruediger on the podcast here. By the way, now I'm self-conscious. I came in a second ago, and our producer Matt over here was talking to Chris about this shoot happening tonight. And basically, I just came in and I said, guys, shut up. We need to do this. This is about me right here. Because I'm getting this bed delivered. I've used that excuse a couple times.
I've heard from other artists in town that they've heard this excuse from
I've got a bed being delivered, so I sort of shut down a conversation that Chris and our producer Matt were having. I felt like I was getting some death stares, so I sort of just wanted to clear the air at the top of the pod. Yeah. First of all, was I getting death stares a little bit, or were we understanding of the bed being delivered?
Look, here we're in the process of evaluating it. After this podcast, we'll decide whether we're still friends or not. But
okay. And what's happening tonight? There's a big shoot happening tonight.
Yeah,
right?
we're doing a collaboration with Travis Austin. You know, the guy that makes like the hats and jackets and stuff. He's got a place down on 5th and Broadway. We're doing a collaboration, doing like it's outlaw country.
Is Travis going to be there?
Travis is going to be there.
Really?
The man himself, yes. And we're going to be playing some music, telling about what inspired the songs. Travis is going to be cooking up some nice hats, some nice canvases, some jackets. I'm kind of trying to walk away with a piece of,
Yeah, if I show up, do you think I get a hat?
I don't know. I got a bed delivered, so I don't know.
You got a bed delivered?
Yes.
When did you get a bed delivered?
I got a bed delivered last week. I changed.
Did you really?
No, I'm 100% dead serious. Yes.
Wow, what kind of bed?
I got a queen bed instead of just a full, and I got a comforter on top of the bed that I'd never had before, and I sink in. And in fact, the reason I was running 5 minutes late for this podcast,
I noticed that
was
actually
in part because I needed to get a few extra minutes.
Hey man, let's get here 15, 20 minutes early. Just make sure everything's set up. I said, great, I'll see you then.
Right.
I got here 20 minutes early.
15.
You showed up 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
I waited 25 minutes for you to get here. I just want you to know that. I was going to show up on 10, in which case you would have been 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
I waited around for 25 minutes for Chris Ruediger to get here. I mean, you're a big deal. I get it. I don't think you're 25 minutes late kind of big deal. I'm just trying to ground you a little bit.
All right, here's the deal. You're getting a bed delivered, so you got to leave pretty soon. I showed up a little bit late. How about we have a fair shake and we move on as friends
here? Should we shake hands for the camera?
Yes, yeah,
Let's shake hands for the camera.
See, it's documented, right?
It's documented right here, the handshake.
Yeah.
By the way, we have a lot to talk about, but I know that you just saw the Elvis movie last night. And you loved it. You went solo to the Elvis movie. And you loved it. Give me like we were talking a second ago.
Nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Dude, I'm telling you, like
you love this movie.
I love this movie. In fact, I'm probably going to sing an Elvis cover today when we
really?
shoot it.
Would you go again? Because I'm dying to see it.
I would go with you again. So I did a rogue thing. I never go to movies by myself.
Yeah.
Never have. And I hit up, because I got a lot of friends, right? I hit up like all 4 friends in town on Saturday. I was like, hey, do you guys want to go to the movies? Nobody responded. I'm like, well, I still need to see this movie. I have a free night. So I went by myself. The theater was actually surprisingly empty, which is weird because I feel like a lot of people are going to Elvis. I got right in the middle, lounge back, a little Diet Coke, popcorn, and just tuned into Elvis. And it was, I would put it right on par with Top Gun. It's a different movie, obviously, but
yeah, because we saw Top Gun together. Do you know? I was reading today that because of this movie, about like in 2020, so like a couple years ago, the Elvis catalog was valued between like 500 million to buy like the Elvis catalog, the likes of the catalog, and now after this movie's come out, they've valued the catalog and sort of the name and likeness of Elvis at $1 billion.
So it doubled just because of this movie.
Yeah, and I think a couple other things, and also like catalog prices going up. But basically, to buy if it were to go up for sale, people are estimating it would be $1 billion. The Elvis catalog and the name and likeness.
That's insane.
Insane. Yeah.
I can't afford any of that. Not even a sliver of that. But I would love to own a piece of Elvis's catalog.
We'll keep making content. We'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
By the way, look, we have a lot to talk about, especially 615 House, which Chris is the founder of. He's been running it for a long time, doing a great job of it. It feels like right now we're kind of going through like 615 House 2.0. The content's changing a little bit. There's a new cast of creators and artists in the house that are coming through. It's kind of like a second wave. And it's cool to see sort of like the first wave is still hanging around making content, almost like maybe like mentoring this newer wave or kind of showing them the ropes a little bit. But what's happening with the house? Because it does feel like it's going through a little bit of a metamorphosis, a little bit of a change. What's happening? Can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Absolutely, man. I mean, look at the first class has graduated. They've moved on. They're chasing their dreams in the world, and we're finding a new class that's coming in here, and we're scouting out talent. We're figuring out who we want as our starting roster. We're assembling sort of the next season, our next football team, right? But that doesn't mean that the graduates aren't a part of that process, or we're building a community. So it's like, once we give some people some support and kind of a platform to like further their career, the hope is that they come back and then they give back to us by helping out other artists. I think a great example of that is someone like Cooper Allen, right? I mean, the dude's got millions of things on his agenda right now. I'm sure he's figuring out how to play his next huge show or put out his next record, but he still finds a couple hours a week to come here and work with a lot of artists.
You don't have to twist his arm. It's not a hassle to get him to come down
here's
to
the deal.
house.
I'll tell you what, CMA Fest.
CMA Fest.
Look, I love Cooper Allen. CMA Fest, first time, he blew me off.
He blew you up. Well, because I actually got the interview with him post
Really?
CMA Fest. Well, CMA Fest was crazy because one of the very cool things about CMA Fest is I was hosting the stage that Cooper played on.
Yeah.
And there were all these major label artists on that stage, big names, big rising names in country. And Cooper came on. There must have been 1,000, 1,500 people there. Like, it was packed. Second Cooper came off the stage, it cleared, and 3 major label like big artists came on. There was nobody there, basically.
Really?
Like hardly anyone there, which I think is incredibly validating to the work that you guys are doing with 615 House, that Cooper's doing. That this is like really real. Like, you guys are building these real artists with these real fan bases. And all to say that the second he came off the stage, Cooper said, "Zach, I got to do content with you," and I got the interview with him. So he blew you
So
off.
what you're
though.
saying is that you've infiltrated my relationship
I'm
with
not
Cooper,
saying I've
and you're better
infiltrated
friends
the
with him than
relationship.
I am,
just think he just, just think he's looking around at priorities and he's prioritizing different things. Is what I'd be saying there.
Look, here's the deal. Cooper and I go way back. We go back like 5 years. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, like,
maybe that's the problem. Is I don't have enough history with them.
Yeah, maybe you're this like new shiny light that he's
Exactly.
clinging to.
I'm
and
a shiny
he's trying to
object.
figure out how you fit into his cast of characters. Look,
I think maybe, yeah.
I will say, here's the cool part, right? I was playing like Tootsies and George Jones and Old Red with Cooper like 5 years ago. We'd play 3-4 hour cover sets, make a couple $100 and then go get a beer after. And like, Cooper was content with that, and he was writing a couple songs and I was writing a few songs, but like, we were still kind of trying to navigate the whole like scene of Nashville, right? We'd only been in town for a year or two when we first kind of started playing together. So for me, it's really cool because Cooper's kind of the first person like of, how everyone talks about classes?
Yeah.
Like, Cooper's kind of the first person of like my class that I've watched go from like ground floor to something special. And it's just really rewarding to watch a friend. And even if if he blows you off one time at CMA Fest, I mean, like the reality is I still am going to hug that guy. I have to support him.
I think the reality is he was being swamped. He had hundreds of fans that were trying to get his attention. He had industry people that were trying to get. I'm sure he didn't really blow you off. I did get the content though. Clearly, it was he prioritized my content.
Yeah.
But,
so what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to call him and have a word with him and just make sure that if it's between you and I moving forward, he chooses me. But, other priorities he can kind of,
What do you think has
out.
been the secret for Cooper? Is it the charisma? Is it the constant output of content? I mean, he's very charismatic, but I feel like there's other people that are charismatic. Is it the mashups? Like, because you've been there since the beginning, and you've
Right.
even had a little bit of a role in a lot of the content that he's put out.
Right.
Like, is there anything that you can pick up on that people just gravitate towards with him?
I mean, I will say, like, the dude is very charismatic. Like, I mean, I'm going to try to do a Cooper impression here, but like, my name's Cooper. It's
I don't know what that
nice
was.
to see you. It's like
I think it's more like, hey, this is big.
yeah.
This
is but it's
this
like
is
the eyes get
hey,
wide,
Chris. Yeah, this is big.
right? It's like you meet him and you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then you see him on stage and no, it's not Elvis at all. But he's got this like quirky like thing that he does, like the way that he moves and entertains and gets people like captivated in his show is I think why his ticket sales are doing so well. Like, he's an entertainer, and I'm not like, the songs are what they are. And like, do I think Cooper Allen's gonna have like some mega hits in him? Yeah, I think he's gonna get some really good songs and like probably put some stuff on radio in the coming years. But I think the point is like, that dude was playing Broadway and has been performing for years. And so that translates in his live show. And that's not, we live in a weird time, Zach, and that, you know, there are a lot of people that are getting like viral moments on social media and then they're quickly put onto a tour and then you go see them live and you're like, whoa, like they were off, you know? And that's not, I mean, yes, it's a criticism of them, but it's also like to be expected. Like when somebody has a viral moment and has never played a live show, like it's going to take time. But I think the cool part about Cooper is that he's been around for so long doing this.
He's put the hours in getting the live show together.
Right.
He knows how to get the crowd really riled up or I don't know if that's a word. Like he knows how to get a reaction out of them from these little things. He's so entertaining. Like that was the first time I saw him live at CMA Fest.
Yeah.
And he was incredible.
It's incredible. I mean, and then, you know, obviously like, you know, the parodies and the mashups and stuff like that. I mean, the dude can legitimately put 50 songs, you know, together under one beat in like there's 10 minutes of his show, and it's amazing. And he like is specifically choosing songs from the audience, which I think is really cool. So then everyone feels like they contributed to the show. But I mean, dude, I think it's like a little bit of the social media thing and like, you know, him coming into the house and like meeting other people. I think he was really inspired to be creative online. Like he didn't love, you know, the whole like wake up and make a post kind of thing until I think he met a lot of other people in the house. And so I think really the testament to like what we're doing and how we contributed to his success is that we are building a community. And I think when you get a lot of creatives surrounded by other creatives, it just like, you know, expedites the process because everyone's inspired to like make shit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's the process right now as new people are coming into the house? How do people get chosen to come to the house? Like what does it look like? How's it work?
So it's kind of an interesting process. So, you know, some people reach out and we have an application on our website. People can reach out.
So are people
media.
DMing you constantly and like, hey,
dude,
how
my
do
DMs be swamped these days.
People are
it's
DMing
nice.
and what, like, is there a good pitch in the DM? Like, can someone win you over in a DM, or do you basically assume everyone's crazy and do you send them to the website to fill out the form?
I honestly, like, I could pull up some of these DMs and they're like hilarious to look at. I think like the one DM that like is never going to work is like, hey man, just had a single come out and hit like X amount of streams, like,
and
you
it's
know,
usually
like
a low number. It's like 20,000.
It's like my song hit like 2,000 streams yesterday. Like, you know, can I like stop by and like work with like Cooper and Alexandra and like get like 18 posts on your channel?
Hey, they shot their shot.
You know,
and
it's like, oh, in turn, I'll buy you like a coffee. You know, like, I mean, dude, like that's got to be a nice coffee. You know,
that's got to be yeah.
I think like the point is like, yes, there are a lot of people that do reach out, and actually a good example is Alexandra, because she reached out because she heard about it through Thomas, and then we set up a meeting and like had coffee and talked about what she had going on, what we had going on, and it just felt like a good fit, so we brought her in. I mean, here's the thing: we look for like, you know, young talent. We look for people that are unique, that are different. If you have a social following, like, you know, that's a huge plus. But like part of our job is to help people find their brand and their artistry, and then promote that on their socials. And so for me, it's like finding somebody that's just that like 1 in a million talent is kind of like where I'm at. And then generally, you know, we meet, and if we hit it off, it's like, hey, stop by the house, and then, you know, they sing a couple songs, and that's kind of their audition, you know, and like,
yeah, oh yeah, no, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, it'd be something like this, like we'd be doing a podcast or a cover, and like, you know, I'd be like, hey man, like, you want to sing something? You want to talk about, you know, yourself? And like, we get to see how they interact on camera. We get to see how they perform live. Like, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? So, you know, if you ever want to audition, just let me know.
I'll slide into your DMs.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, like, it's a pretty low bar to maybe get in once, right? Like, lots of people can swing by the house, shoot an afternoon of content. Maybe not lots of people, but, you know, but it's the people who stick around, right? Is that sort of like, do you basically just, it's who gets invited back? Is that how that works?
Yeah. Like, you know, it's like, I mean, it's, you know, it's like the big party. Like everyone can show up to like the big high school party, and then after that, you know, smaller friend groups are formed, and then there's like little, you know, spin-off parties, and those are the ones where like, you know, you gotta really be in with the crew to get it. The reason we're doing that is just because like it's very clear when someone shows up, like who gets it and who's willing to work hard, and like who is just kind of there for like the quick money grab in the sense of like, oh, let me show up and grab a couple extra followers and then I'm gonna leave, right? And the point is like, we don't want that. We want somebody that's like showing up and being creative and willing to meet people and collaborate and like, I don't know. It's very obvious when you meet someone the first time whether they're like in for that or not.
Why? Because is it obvious the first time, or is it obvious if they never come back? Like what do you pick up on?
You pick up on like I don't want to give names and spill too much tea.
Well,
but
don't
like,
give names. Just
like
define some characteristics.
Look, all right. Like when someone shows up and they take the time to introduce themselves to everyone, right? And they maybe have 3 or 4 ideas that day of like ways to work together and collaborate. Or if we're doing like a big group song, they're like, hey, yeah, I'm down to play the guitar on this one, or hey, like I'll take a line at the end there and harmonize with you. Like
if they're a team player,
right? It's very like,
and they're willing to put the spotlight on some other people in a moment,
right?
For a moment, versus it's all about themselves, which is usually the approach that I take.
It's like clearly. And when's that bed coming again?
Soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, dude, it's like like I don't know. We're like on a soccer team or something, and it's like, when you're on a team, you got to pass the ball, right? And then oftentimes the ball will come back to you, and if you have a good opportunity, then you shoot and you can score, and that's great. And like those moments come the more you hang out, the more you participate in the house. But when someone comes and they're that just like annoying, like forward that's just like hanging by the goal, just waiting to like tap the ball in, like eventually people are gonna be like, dude, like I'm not gonna pass it to you,
Yeah, right.
And I think like that's.
And does everyone pick up on it? You think?
I think most people pick up on it,
and then they don't get invited back.
And then they don't get invited back. And it's like, see you later.
That's sort of the tell that you didn't quite make the cut. They don't get anybody get kicked out, but then they figure it out and they get invited back.
I will
later.
say there was one artist.
Give me a name. Who is the artist?
Can we get into it?
This is your house, but give me a name. Are we on good terms with them now? Spencer Crandall.
I like Spencer Crandall. Spencer Crandall's a great example, actually.
He is a great example. I've worked with,
Spencer Crandall's a great example. Spencer Crandall showed up and like I think like kind of got it, but like didn't fully get it. Like made some content, posted it, whatever, did his own thing, and like clearly he's got a lot going on, and I get it. But we were all kind of like, all right, like, is this Crandall guy really here for the project, or like was he just here to grab a couple quick videos? And like over time, I've gotten to know him a lot better, and like he's a brilliant guy. He's really smart, and he's also like he's down to help other people. And like we've jumped on calls, and he's thrown ideas about like, hey, you could help this person in this way. He just participated in the panel that we did for CMA Fest.
Yeah, right.
And it was really cool to hear his story. And so I think like Crandall's an example of someone that like maybe I was out on initially, and I'm back in. And I'm big in. And if you hear the Spencer, I'm just being real, my man. But you're in. You're team player
on the
now.
home team. You're in the house.
Right.
Because I was online, I was on the TikTok last night going through some content, looking at everything, and there's some trend that you guys are doing where you're slapping each other with tortillas.
Yes.
But the part that I don't understand is your mouths are also full of water. Why are your mouths full of water?
It's hilarious. Were you not laughing when watching it?
Well, kind of, but I was like, why the water? Because it just meant, is it the point that you're supposed to not laugh as you're getting slapped to spill the water?
Yes, you can't. If you laugh, right, then you would naturally spit out the water.
Yeah.
And I don't know who started this trend.
By the way, let's just take a minute here.
Should we take it? Yeah.
This is smart water. Okay, let's get back.
Are you sponsored by them, or was that just a friendly plug?
No, I'm not sponsored by them, but I always drink smart water when I fly because of the electrolytes. Let's just guess.
That was a pretty good sip.
I don't know if the mic picked up on the.
Want some. You didn't happen to bring an extra for me, did you? Do you mind just like a little bit? I'm getting a little parched over here. Yeah. This was coffee that I've already
coffee?
finished.
No, have a little. No, please take a little bit of my smart water. Yeah.
It's great. Thanks.
So
we're becoming friends again. I like this.
I'm a team player. Would I be invited back to the house? Remains to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see. You're not. I'll tell you what. You're not on the trading block yet.
I'm not.
We wouldn't trade you over to like the Songhouse or something like that.
No, screw that. So but wait. So the tortilla thing. But just like work it through me. Like, is that a trend on TikTok right now, or is that something that you guys came up with?
Yeah, that one we did not come up with. Thank God we did not come up with that one. That was like a trend that somebody saw, and the point is, I think it's just like a dumb thing where you like rock paper scissors shoot, you slap people with a tortilla, you either spill the water or you don't. I don't know, dude. Look, the one thing, can I just say this publicly? Okay. TikTok has proven to me that there are many brilliant, creative, comedic people in the world. And it also has proven to me that there is so much dumb shit that we as a society love to consume. And
Like
this is
tortillas
and this is a
slapping
perfect example
with water
of
in it. Yeah.
that. And so, like, I don't know. That was just something we did because, like, we thought it'd be funny. We thought it'd be, like, joke. And I think, like, our page is saturated with, like, so much music, right? That's our niche. Like, we're going to obviously continue to do that. But I think it's nice to show moments where, like, we're having a good time. And, like, the reality is when people show up, we want to have a good time. We don't want it to always just be, like, get in the studio, record a song, like, we care about each other. And, like, doing those kind of dumb games, I think, is, like, just a chance for people to see, like, yeah, we are real people that, like, goof off at times too.
How does it work? Because I think there's some fans that are going to want to know and probably have an interest in this.
Yep.
How does it work with the days themselves? So you guys show up, or the days, do you sort of plan out the content ahead of time before everyone gets there, or are you figuring out what you're going to shoot and creating it while everyone's there and going through trends? Like, how are the days scheduled and come together?
It's a little bit of a mix. I think one thing that I've learned in this process is there's a balance between overproducing for an artist and not giving them enough direction that they lose creativity. And so, like Matt and Classic, it's been great working with them because we'll brainstorm some ideas right there on our production team. So we'll brainstorm ideas of, hey, these, this might be a good song, or hey, we want to do original music, but we want this kind of backdrop. Then artists will show up, and it kind of confines them in a sense to, like, hey, there's some direction with what we're shooting today, but then it's also like, hey, you can still choose the song. We want you to come up with the arrangement because you are the artist and the talent behind it. So typically a shoot, it's a couple hours, like, whether we're doing it at our studio or at the house. Oftentimes the house is just like a place where people can hang and, like, get to know each other better.
Yeah, and by the way, if people don't know this, you guys shoot out of Reba McEntire's
Insane, right?
old mansion.
I slept in Reba McEntire's bed the other night, and I had one of the most
good dreams.
One of the most electric dreams possible.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It was amazing. I felt like I was a superstar with Reba on the road.
Wow.
It was incredible.
But basically, going back from it, so you guys shoot content pretty religiously every Monday? Is that when you guys
Mondays
shoot?
and Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Which is really because everyone, like, a lot of people are on the road sort of Thursday, Wednesday,
Right.
into the weekend. But so you'll figure out in advance who's going to show up that day, and then people show up. And then is there any prep beforehand about what you're going to shoot, or do you really never know until people show up to the house and start getting creative?
Yeah. We try to, like, a week out or 2 weeks out, we'll try to be like, hey, we're shooting this day. Are you in or out? And get a sense of, like, what artists are coming. And then from there, we try to prep, like, here's what we're going to do. The one thing that I've realized is it's really, really difficult to manage, like, 10 artist schedules. And so oftentimes there's, like, cancellations and last minute things. And, like, it's a little frustrating on my end to try to, like, plan something when
Do you
people
feel
have
like,
such
hey,
busy schedules.
let's plan in advance and get super organized, but no matter what you do, is it always coming together at the last minute? And you're like, oh, God, we're down someone.
Matt,
I had to
do
call
you
10
agree?
people. Matt.
Look at that. He's nodding his head
Matt,
over
our
there. Look at
producer
him.
Matt
See?
over here is like, yeah, it's always down to the wire last minute.
Right.
And then, like, an hour before, you like, we have one more spot. Let me call 5 people and see who I can get into the house.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little of that, but it's also, like, I'm not, like I said, like,
I've never
I'm not,
gotten one of those calls.
Yeah, I haven't gotten one of those calls.
I haven't gotten one of those
Again,
calls.
you're the smart water helps. All right. But the thing is, like, I'm not gonna call the people that aren't team players, right?
Yeah.
If
Even when you're in a bind.
even when I'm in a bind,
Chris
I will
stands to his
not.
morals. No. Well, the thing is that I like about Chris and what he's doing is
Here
he's
we
really
go.
finding people.
He's you're improving again. This is
I'm-
great. Look
no,
at the camera when you tell
Is
them
this
how
my
much you
angle
like
right
me.
here?
Yeah.
I just think what it is like you just find people to really invest in. I feel like you really believe in people right now. Like right now, there's an artist, Jake Paletti. Is he a roommate of yours, or does he live with you?
There's actually a crazy story behind this.
Yeah.
And I want to share it with you.
No, tell me. But just to give a little bit of context, Jake is a very talented artist, someone who's on the rise, growing his following right now, growing his brand, and he's got some amazing music that the house is getting ready to release, or people are getting. I don't know if that can we share that information? That
Dude,
there's new music coming. For
New
Jake.
music is coming out, and the music is so good.
Yes.
Like, I think he's going. I really, really think it's going to resonate with people, and he's going to like. I think he's going to have a career where, like, it takes a lot of people 5 years in Nashville to get to the next stepping stone. I think he could do it in like a couple months, just because the music is there. It's insane.
Yeah, but this is something that like you have found. I want you to tell the story because this is not. Yeah, tell the story. Let me give it to you.
Okay, cool. So, I'm friends with a guy named Graham. Graham's actually an artist too. Has done some stuff in the house as well. Graham met this guy named Jake a couple years ago, and Graham and I were becoming really good friends. And Graham was like, "Hey, I'm playing a writers round. Do you want to come out and listen to me and the other writers?" And Jake was in the round, so I show up. And this guy, the first song he plays a song called "The Booty Song," and it's a 3-minute song talking about how much he enjoys the female behind. And I'm sitting there going like, but he's crushing it. Like his voice is so great, but I'm like, dude, like, what the hell are you singing about, right? Then the next song he plays is this love song called Sweet Pinot about how much he loves this woman. And it's like this tender, almost like something that like a George Jones or George Strait could cut. And I'm sitting here going, this guy just sang a song about ass, and now he's singing a song about like how much he loves this girl. Like, where is he going artist-wise? It makes no sense. But all I know is this kid's got a great voice. So, of course, fast forward a couple years, and Graham and I decide that we're going to live together, and we need another roommate. Who do we call?
Jake Paletti.
We called the booty song extraordinaire, Mr. Jake Paletti. So Jake comes into the house. He hates social media, like despises it. And so one of the things that we've been working with him on is introducing him to the world of TikTok and Instagram and showing that like there really is a cool opportunity where those platforms are the equalizer right now for a lot of like starting artists compared to, you know, major label artists. And so I told Jake, I said, why don't you come out to the house? Why don't you shoot a couple videos and we can see where it goes? And like, you know, he posts this one song called Too Drunk to Drive that he wrote by himself. Oh, actually, no, he wrote with one other person. I'm sorry, I lied. And he records a song and he sings it in front of a bunch of artists in the house, and everyone's like, dude, holy shit. Like, this is the song. We post it, wakes up the next day, 2 million views.
People were connecting with it.
And so now we're in the process of like, do we put out the song? You know, do we get, you know, the single cover done? Do we get, you know, the recording, all this stuff? And of course he's freaking out about it because he's like, oh my God, I've never had this many, you know, people reaching out to me. Coolest thing happened the other day. And I apologize, I know I'm talking a lot, but
no, this is your podcast.
Look, this is clearly Zak's world and we're living in it. But
yeah,
what I want to share is Jake came home the other day. And he was like, dude, he works at Big Machine, the bar on downtown Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I was pouring drinks, and 3 people during my shift came up to me and was like, oh, my God, you're the guy from TikTok. We just heard your new song. When are you putting it out? And that was like a day after the video had gone viral. And he comes home and he's, of course, freaking out. And you know, he's like, oh, man, I got to start signing autographs now. I'm like, all right, relax, Jake.
Jake Paletti. Take it easy, baby.
You know, it was 3
easy.
people. But the point is, like, there is an incredible amount of power with, like, the app, and that, like, a day before he works at his bartending shift, like, a video does millions of views, and then he's getting people coming up to him saying, like, I recognize you. I know who you are. I love what you posted. Fuck, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, but I think what I was saying earlier is like, Chris, you always just, you know, you find these people that you believe in, and like last night, you know, we were at a show, we were at the closing night of May We All, and like intermission, you're like on your phone, basically posting clips for Jake to get them up on the 615 page and to post them, because if you don't do it, nobody's gonna get it done. Like, I think, you know, you find these people to invest in, you put a lot of time into them, and then you execute and you get things done. And
I appreciate that.
I think it's admirable.
Thanks, man. I mean, dude, I love doing it. Like, I love watching my friends succeed, and that's the coolest part. I told you about Cooper, right? Told you about Alexandra, Thomas, you know, Ashley, Priscilla, like all these artists that came into the house and are now in the next point of their career. It's really, really cool. And also, one thing, May We All, fantastic musical.
Wasn't it great?
So great. And
so great.
And I'm now, I want to hype you up because you're so humble. You're sitting there, you know, praising me so much. And now it's my turn to look at the camera and say,
about?
Zak, you were a producer, co-producer.
Co-producer on the show. No, it was amazing. Yeah, we just wrapped up the run here in Nashville, and then we've got big plans to hopefully take it on the road. And
yeah,
it's not the end of the line for May We All. It's been really cool to be a part of. But the house is getting big. I mean, do you feel a little bit like, do you feel you were properly credited as some of these artists have left the house? No, they haven't left the house, but they've signed major record deals. They've gone on big tours. They've gone on big support tours. Do you think that you were given enough credit for the role that you have had in these artists' careers?
Oh man. I'm not like.
That's a yes, people. That's a yes from Chris.
I mean, dude, if we're speaking candidly, like,
Are we out of line here in questioning? Are we
No,
cutting this bit?
no,
I just think that here's the thing. I think that people have had big success with the house. And I don't think it's been all you, because I think a lot of it's been the talent, the drive to show up. A lot of people have done stuff on their own. But I feel like you have created this environment for people to show up, collaborate. And that first batch of artists, pretty much every single one who has wanted a deal has got a deal. That's like Ashley Cook, Spencer Crandall, Cooper Allen's like doing massive things right now. He's gonna get the deal. Tiger Lily, Alexandra Kay is talking to major players right now.
Right.
I hope this isn't. I hope we're not revealing anything too private. But
no, of course not.
But and this, I feel like they really. I don't know if they got their start in the house. They might have even done it without the house. But I really feel like the house was this place where they were able to come together, collaborate. And are we still good on camera? Or we're still good? We're able to come together, collaborate, build this community, and I think that really helped build their careers. And I feel like you were really at the center of that.
Yeah.
So do you feel like people give you enough credit?
We're getting deep here, Zach. To be honest with you, I don't think enough people give credit to the project and the house. I think a lot of people in Nashville, like, shove it to the side and say, like, oh, it's this cool TikTok thing, whatever, it happened. Or the artists are fine, they're not great. And, like, okay, think of the project, whatever you are. And, like, I think some of the artists, like, forget about how important I think the, like, community and the business that we've created is. And so, you know, the hard part is, like, how do you quantify that? Like, you know, you take an artist like Alexandra, right, who has, you know, grown 10x in the past year and is on the road with Tim McGraw, right? Like, all of these things. The reality is she's writing good songs. She's got a great voice, and she's consistently showing up and working hard. But I would also argue that, like, if she didn't come into the house, she would not have met Cooper Allen, and she would not have met Thomas Mack, and they would never have done their headlining tour where they sold so many tickets that Tim McGraw then had to take her out on the road, right? And then the same thing can be said about, someone like Cooper, who, you know, I told you wasn't even on social media, and, like, then he steps in the house, people are telling him he's got to keep posting, all these ideas are happening, and his career's expedited, you know, to leaps and bounds beyond, I think, what he thought. So I guess my point is, you know, I think a lot of these people get to the next step and then they're like, of course they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for their career, and it's nothing against Cooper and Alexandra, but if I am going to be honest, I do really feel like we are an influential part of that. And I think, like, it's an intangible factor, like the relationships that you make being a part of the house, the creativity and the inspiration you get. Like, you don't know how much of that on, like, a percentage scale contributes to growing their career. I probably would argue a lot more than maybe other people. But I think that's what's working. And, like, look, now we're at a place where we're really going to test it on this next wave of talent. And I've learned a lot too. And Zach, like, I would love to talk. I feel like you're smart and you get this, and I'd love to talk to you about, like, the business and where things could go, because I really care about the artist development side of things. And so, like, one of my dreams is I've always wanted to have, like, a record label. And I think it would be really cool to bring in artists and distribute their music and grow, like, their artistry, because that's the one part I don't get right now with Cooper and Alexandra is I don't actually, like, get to, I mean, they want me to help them, but I don't get to market their records, right? Or participate in their records. And so that's something that I really want to do with this next batch of talent. And I think that will hopefully create maybe, like, you know, more of kind of a long-term relationship with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense logically that that's where the house would go to get into the, you know, the record label business. And also, I feel like if you're listening to this and if you're a fan of the house, like, you might not realize that I think the industry does kind of turn its nose at it a little bit, or kind of gives it the cold shoulder a little bit. I think now the narrative is starting to change, especially with the success that people like Cooper are having. But early on, I feel like everybody was kind of writing off the house, right? Like, was that frustrating to kind of go through that and to be like, look, like we're just working hard here using a new medium that every other genre is using and having success with. We're tapping into this, and we were really like the first people in country to do it, on a big scale, and it felt like everybody was sort of writing you off. I think maybe because they were scared of it and what they didn't know, and the fact that Nashville is such a country radio driven town,
right.
And here's this new medium that could break an artist like Cooper, and we're already seeing massive success with it, where he played a stage where people who had radio singles had a fraction of the people show up to see them perform as Cooper Allen did. So it's like now that I think the narrative is starting to change, but do you still get the sense that like the industry sort of writes off the house or sort of,
of course, dude,
turns its nose at it, right?
I mean, like when we first started, there was like arguably more hate going around than there was love about the house. I mean, I think Nashville, like, a lot of people think of Nashville as like this fluffy town and like everyone like, loves each other and like, shakes each other's hands and wants everyone to win. And like, yeah, you find your pockets of people, but dude, most people in Nashville were like, yeah, that house is weird. Like none of those artists are going to do anything. It's a total miss. Like, I'm like, dude,
they really did. They
really did.
They
no,
really
like,
thought that. Yeah.
I heard there was one time where I was talking to my co-founder and we were talking, and every major label, like, was like through our mutual friends was saying that like, yeah, that house is a complete joke. It's going to die in a year. And I'm like, okay, sick. Like, what are your artists doing? Because guess what? Like, as far as I'm concerned, they're not on the radio right now. They're not touring, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, well, this is when it started. I'm like, why don't you get on social media and actually post something? So, the fact that I think there's been some artists that have proved people wrong is really exciting for me, because it shows that I think like what we're doing is innovative and different and disruptive. The part that still frustrates me is it's like there are gatekeepers in country. And the reality is, these major labels have way more buying power. They're going to snatch up a lot of these artists that, have viral moments. And then all of a sudden they become back into the major label system. And then it's like, here we go, country radio. And like, look, that might be great for a lot of artists. Hell, if like a major label came to me and offered me a shitload of money, I might take it. But the point is, like, we were the ones that started it, and like there's something really cool about building that movement from the ground up, and I would hate for it to just be stripped away by all of these artists fleeing to these majors that, quite frankly, I don't know if they understand like the power of what we're doing. Like just now are a lot of these record executives being like, hey, I really see what TikTok's doing, it's cool. And I'm like, man, we've been there for a couple
We've
years.
Been here. We're on to the next thing.
So,
like,
and again, that's not to. I'm not trying to.
No, of course.
I'm not trying to. Discredit any of the major labels. They're amazing at what they do. I guess my point is, I'm really, really excited about the future of where this project's going. I think that we're thinking differently, and a lot of the artists are buying into that. And I'm just excited to see where we can take it.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I think everyone listening is going to want to know too, the mashups that Cooper's so known for, that the 615 House is so known for, are these created on the spot? Do you rehearse these in advance? Are we giving away a little secret sauce here? How did these mashups get written and come together?
Every single one is one take wonder.
Really?
Of course not. I will say Cooper is like alarmingly good at it. Like he might be able. You should get him on the podcast because he might be able to do a mashup
on the spot. We should get him on.
We really should. I'm going to see him later today. I'm going to tell him he's going to come on the pod. But some of the other artists are like I think still trying to get into the swing of things, and so they're they'll take a couple takes. They gotta loosen up.
And does Cooper get frustrated when he's working with amateurs who need a couple takes? He's like, guys, bring it. I'm ready to go.
Slide over, yeah.
I'm ready to go. Slide it. Hold my beer. I'm coming in.
I will say he did do one mashup the other day. He actually did a mashup with Abby Anderson, who I
saw that. It was really great.
And Abby on the spot, like, came in, slayed, got the songs like down pat. I think Cooper walked out and was like,
damn.
Shit, I got some competition,
Cooper's got some competition in the
I
mashup front. Those are always great to see. By the way, we had a poll running on the podcast last week about who Chris Ruediger's favorite member of the 615 House is.
Really?
Yeah, no, we did. And I just wanted to throw it out to you. Kiss, Kill, Marry. Members of the 615 House. I'm gonna give you a couple names. No, we're not gonna do this.
I was like, dude, you do this, and I have no people coming back to the house.
We're not gonna do that. But look, Chris, it's been great to have you on the pod.
Yeah, man.
Chris Ruediger, the founder of the 615 House. He's running an amazing content house right now. And I can also say, like, you know, being a close confidant of Chris, there's so much stuff that the house is building right now, putting together, that I don't even think we're ready to announce or get into. But there's so much going on behind the scenes that I think this upcoming year, I mean, we're in the middle of a year right now, but wait a year or two, and I think Chris is building this, like, country music empire. I mean, he's got so much going on behind the scenes that's happening. And I wish we could even get into it now, but stay tuned and follow the house and follow the content, because there's so much coming around the pipeline. But what were you going to say?
Dude, thanks for chatting, and I appreciate you for, like, believing in what we're doing. I think you're in a similar boat, man. Like, you're doing something different and innovative, and, like, you know, love reading about all of the Nashville Briefing stuff. Love watching the podcast. I think it's really cool.
Podcast is really great.
You know, you have these inside discussions with people in town. It's amazing. And, like, look, I would chat a lot longer if, you know, you didn't have a bed arriving. But the point is, I think we should keep this conversation rolling. I think, you know, if there's ways that we could work together in the future, it'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, while I have you here, there was this great clip that you posted on TikTok.
Yes.
Of you, this was maybe a month or two ago, of you busking, I think maybe outside of Nathaniel Hall in Boston.
It's Faneuil.
Yes. What did I say?
Yeah, you said Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
No, it's not named after Nathaniel, but yes.
Faneuil Hall, and you're outside busking.
Sure.
And well, you were telling me this story about how you auditioned for American Idol at one point.
Yeah.
And afterwards, you didn't get in. Screw it. I mean, look at you now, Chris. Look at you then. Look at how far you've come.
Katy Perry. What the hell?
Katy Perry.
You know?
What the hell? But you didn't get in. And was it your dad who said to you? He was like, "You have to busk right now."
This is a really cool story, and it's super. I'll be super quick here, but we drove from Boston to New York to audition for American Idol, and I prepared 2 songs. I walked in, I thought I crushed it, and I got this, like, sort of weird, awkward look from Katy Perry, and she was like, "Not good enough today." I was like, okay, that really sucks. And I was 15, 16 at the time. So I remember walking out and I was like, I'm quitting music. I told my dad, like, we got to go back to Boston. Like, I need to, like, figure out what my life's going to be. And he's like, relax, calm down. It's all good. Why don't you go on that street corner and play music? I'm like, Dad, are you kidding me? It's New York City. Like, you want me to street
Katy Perry
perform?
just told me I sucked.
Yeah, like, after Katy Perry says you're no good, like, you want me to just whip out the guitar and play some music? He's like, do it for half an hour. Let's see what happens. We did it, played, you know, whatever the 5 or 6 songs I knew at the time, you know, made like $50, eventually had a crowd of like 100 people around me, and it was really, really cool. And we took the $50 and, you know, I immediately went and spent it on like fudge
drugs
and candy.
Well,
sure. Hey, I'm 15, relax.
Oh, 15,
yes,
okay.
Of course.
Tylenol.
Yeah, Tylenol, yeah, naturally. But it was just like a cool moment where my dad, like, I think was like, all right, like, you know, I need help, my son, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you went. You were busking in Boston again. Well,
yeah,
I guess that was different.
Well,
I love that story though.
So that was in New York, but then after that, I started busking in Boston like regularly. I would do it like a couple times a week, and it was like the coolest thing ever. It was my summer job. All my other friends were working like, you know, clothing stores, you know, lawn mowing companies, whatever, and I'm street performing. That's sweet. So I got to go back the other day.
Is that where you got your chops, you think, on the streets?
Something about the city of Boston, man. It instills that hard work in you, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, okay, so we're wrapping up here. We're running out of time. But,
yes,
I mean, I think, you know, a lot of people might see this content on the 615 House page, possibly some, you know, inspiring artists, people who are maybe in a small town in the middle of nowhere and they want to, you know, they're dreaming of becoming part of the house, or they're saying, if only I could become a part of the house. What does it take? You know, is there really a form online that you might get a million forms now, but is there really a form online that people can go fill out, and do those get scanned, or do you have to be in Nashville and sort of try to meet you at a showcase, or like what's like how do people you know get in touch with you?
You want to audition? I can tell.
I'm asking for the fans, but I'm really asking for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's we have a
it's
form.
really competitive, though. I mean, a lot of people want to be in the house.
For sure.
So don't waste Chris's time if you suck. If you don't send a
yeah,
form
if you suck, get out of here.
Get out of here.
Of course, we take applications online. Like, people DM us. A lot of times, like, it's other artists in Nashville that are, you know, hanging out with some of the friends. It's a lot of word of mouth. So, like, I guess, you know, if you want to reach out online, you know, send us some videos, stuff like that. And, you know, we're always looking for new people. Like, it's not like we ever have, you know, a finite roster where we're like we can't expand or bring someone new in. It just all matters on timing and the talent. So
yeah, makes sense. I'll be on the lookout for my application.
I'm excited for it, man. I'm gonna give it a great look. I'll try to push it through. I'll talk to my people and see if maybe the CEO can do something for you.
Push it through and see what we can do. Chris on the podcast. Chris, thanks so much for coming by. The Classic 77 podcast studio. We got our producer Matt here who's been crushing for us this morning. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
We'll talk to you guys next time.
Sounds great, Zach. Go have fun getting your bed.